Hello and welcome back to the HeroesHype Open Division. Well, the Open Division here on the HeroesHype channel. I flipped it around right in my head right away. But hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us for this third place match. I am Bahamut, joined by CatPeach. And CatPeach, are you ready? Are you excited to get into this third place game?
I am extremely excited. I was catching a bit toward the end of the last match, and even during the draft, seeing Azul Jin pulled out by TLR. Hello, come on now. So I'm hoping for some really exciting matches to come up now. Who knows what they're gonna pick? It's after that, anything goes.
That's the exciting thing too, is we are going to be getting some, I would say, a smorgasbord of some really good games, because these teams are really going to be interested to kind of show off. And the big thing here is to take the third place means that you're going to be taking, I think it's 90 points as well as $100. And then I think, no, it's 75 points and $100. And then fourth place only takes like 45. So definitely worth it, because those points really do add up over time. And it's a pretty big and important thing to make sure that you're consistently staying up in the point values and just, showing up week to week, because I noted it yesterday with Lauren. Some of these games that, as we get into week, 6, 7, 8, if you're sitting at 170 points, you could vie for that 8th spot 100%. So and maybe we'll see a difference in this current season or this phase where there's maybe a higher priority in the point values, but I don't know. I'm excited to find out overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were saying, like it just takes one person having a really bad week for suddenly your team to get that additional point value. So I remember toward the end of phase 1 for Open Division, there was a lot of contention for those last 4 places. And there are a lot of scenarios where it could have gone in any direction. So just like you mentioned, every single game, every map really matters. And you never know. In a best of 3, you can always pull out a game 3, even if you're down game 1. So always keeping the spunk, always keeping the hope alive. It's really important for these teams. They're both probably a little bit exhausted after both competing just a little while ago. So hopefully that mental fatigue, I know, all right, here's where we get to have the first pronunciation.
Yes.
Omaewa. Omaewa. They had a bit of a break, so they're probably rested. But TLR literally just came off the back of a 2-0. So they're just going to have to, really quickly reset after that and say what's done is done. Our eyes are now on third place, and we just have to do the best we can. So hopefully they can reset.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is getting themselves set up for that third place and taking the points and taking the money. I mean, that's kind of the best part here. And I've been looking to kind of just double check it myself so that way I can at least give the correct information to the stream. And yes, it's actually, so third place takes 75 points at $100, and fourth takes 60 points. And then 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th take 40. 9th through 16th only takes 10s. But still, I mean, showing up and just getting that little bit here and there, it starts to add up over time. And it's definitely something that I'm really excited to be, watching and presenting with you here, because third place, I don't know, Infernal Shrines, it's an interesting place to start our best of 3 series. And there's a lot of really good macro play as well as micro play that you need to consider between the fighting between the teams, as well as the rotation between lanes. Do we see any sort of change into how the laning matchups go out with the the less experience that's out onto the forts now? The front 2 towers being worth 500 less experience. That's a pretty big deal. So maybe that burn and that rotation isn't a high priority. It's so interesting on Infernal Shrines. So you're seeing a couple different ways that the map being played last night.
Absolutely. And like you were saying, with that distribution, no longer is that like everyone divide and conquer necessarily the best way to go about it, because you really just want to get that initial fort down as soon as you possibly can. So roaming as a 5-man, getting that down and then seeing where else you can get experience kind of has shifted to be more along the lines of play with some variation here and there, obviously. But I don't think that, necessarily means that those split push heroes are necessarily dead, because they still have excellent wave clear that help you get that shrine initially. And even though the experience is less, there's always value in keeping your lanes pushed out and prepping the lanes anyway. So, we saw a lot of Dahaka back in the day. He's starting to make a bit of a comeback, which I really enjoy. Super strong here on Infernal Shrines. So between that, you got Sonya, but is anyone really willing to take those when Urel is possibly still on the table if she isn't banned? So I actually haven't seen a lot of Urel on Infernal Shrines games personally. So I'm really excited to see if any of the teams decide to pull her out and see how she does here.
She's been a really strong and dominating factor in a lot of these games, and even then there's some teams that don't put much priority onto it, and there's some teams that put a high priority. And the other thing too is with the resurgence and the heavy picks that we're getting onto Sergeant Hammer lately, that combo works so well because Yrel has such a good defense to knock back anyone who steps up too close, or, you know, can punish anyone who actually does do the same thing. If they step in too far into that Hammer umbrella, you can just, you know, push them even further into it, and then they have to rotate further out, and it just becomes a more difficult situation. So overall, I gotta say, like, their Yrel priority is interesting to me, and I'm curious to see how it's going to play out in this best of 3 series, because between these two, I don't think I saw much play. I was trying to catch a little bit earlier today here and there, but I don't think there was a high priority on it in the last 2 matches that they had.
Yeah, I don't think there was either. Your point about the hammer is also very interesting. Just her sudden in phase 2 all across Open Division and in the pro scene. The sudden rise of hammer on a lot of maps, actually, Infernal Shrines included, has been super interesting, as procced on, I think, by the appearance over in the mid-season brawl, which has been really rad to see a new type of hero kind of spring into the mix and keep you on your toes. So that's always exciting. And you talked about it perfectly. Being able to punish folks who think they can get to that hammer and then just simply can't escape when they realize they took off too much than they can chew is really terrifying. But yeah, I'm not sure the Yrel was necessarily in any of the games I caught, at least from TLR. Yep. But, you know, we never know. We never know. TLR might be saving it for now, decided they didn't necessarily want to commit to it early on. Or perhaps they're just not comfortable on the hero. There's always that. Because I think the win rates we're seeing with Yrel are also illustrated by a few people who are excellent with her. And that totally props up her general win rate, as opposed to her just being flat out overpowered right now. So it's a give and take there for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing too is around that hammer with that kind of playstyle, we've seen a lot of teams also play into some more divey type heroes, and you know, dive compositions have existed for you know, I wouldn't say forever, but I mean, it's something that's always kind of been a staple. You can pull that out and you can play a really, really aggressive composition into an enemy team, and so a lot of teams try and respond with that dive and that, you know, displacement from Yrel, or even you see Garrosh on top of that too. Someone goes in a little bit too far and then they punish it further with a toss out from the Garrosh. And even then, you know, because of the need for that dive and that blow up and that burst that we're also getting as well, things like the Phoenix have also kind of brought back that Zeratul with the Might and Nerazim build, where they, you know, they go in and they try and, you know, roll their face across the keyboard and just blow up someone with every ability possible. But that's a huge thing, and that's something that, you know, has popped up a little bit here and there, as well as VP, just to kind of stall out a couple objectives. We haven't seen a lot of Void Prison Apocalypse. Even last night there was actually a Void Prison picked up, and I was like, oh, this is going to be VP with the Apocalypse, and no, it still was just the VP just to set up for the team for that Lightning Breath, as well as I think there was a Phoenix in there as well. So Lightning Breath being comboed in with the Purification Salvo is something that we've seen quite a bit, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see these two teams break it out, especially on Infernal Shrines, tight corridors for the Diablo. I really like this map for the versatility of builds that you can get, and the difference, you know, the different play styles, because you can go, I mean, you noted Dahaka as well, so we can talk a little bit about, you know, double global aspects here. So you get, you know, huge rotations coming out, and they just play the macro game, and then, you know, they win out on those late game objectives. That's a huge, you know, style to play the map. So it's just curious to see how it's going to unfurl, you know, as these games evolve. And that's just the big thing, is just which style that they're going to be going into and how the other team will realistically have to adjust to that.
Yeah, and I mean, we even see styles that kind of go off on a limb here in Open Division, so we can't even count on what is currently common in the meta, what is currently being shown elsewhere in Open Division. Last week, and I know this was Europe, and Europe tends to get a little bit crazier than I think NA does sometimes for Open Division. But we had a player pulling out, you know, Murky left and right. And so I think the creativity of these Open Division teams to say, here's where the meta is, and we found this very niche selection of heroes that can get across or get around a lot of the challenges that maybe they face in the current meta, and then never kind of revisit it again. So I love the unsureness, but we can try as hard as we can to predict. You mentioned lots of small corridors, like Blaze being able to charge in and stun as well, and really trap people in that oil that there's not a lot of space to move around. Also great wave clear. Potentially another option there. And we can't discount on the support side too. when I hear lots of walls, I think one very, very musical boy, and that boy is Lucio. So
Ooh.
I'm hoping to see some of my personal favorite support play coming out in this series.
The other thing too is you had mentioned the Murky play from last season from another team, and actually in the European Open Division we see IQ 129 consistently breaking out the Murky and winning with it too. Like that's the thing is like this IQ 129 team, they're coming out of seemingly nowhere because I haven't paid enough attention to the names, and I don't know a ton of European pro players in comparison, even like in the Masters and Grandmasters in the United States. Like the NA I follow closely because I live here and I see that board a lot more often. And so it's just one of those things, like I look at some of the players, I'm like, I don't know you. Like I maybe know that name, and I'm just like, these players, they bust out some stuff, and it's just like to be playing Murky at a pro-am level at this level too, which is in my opinion one of the highest levels you can go. Like it's and winning with it too. That's pretty amazing. So I'm really curious to see if we have any comforts like that, because you had mentioned as well, Lucio like that as well. We've seen a lot of priority into the Decker Kane, Malfurion, Stukov, on that wayside, but AoE healing and the break it down that Lucio can bring into a team fight is absolutely a huge benefit that a lot of teams can have just to continue to fight and not really have to stop and back off from a team fight and can continue to hold over the objective and just usually win out the skeletal defenders here.
Yep. And yeah, again, when it comes down to like you're 35 and your opponent's 34 in terms of defenders, being able to just push them back a little bit more and just grab those last 5 is super valuable. So if you have a really great wave clear to quickly get those out, like you mentioned, Sunbury can absolutely swing a scenario that you think you're dead, and then surprise, you're not. And so it's a nice little pleasant surprise that comes out that can elongate those situations. So I'm excited. We're just waiting for the teams to confirm that they're ready, and it looks like, speak of the devil, they are. We are going to Infernal Shrines, game number 1. I'm excited. I don't even know where to begin.
So looking at this draft, there's a lot of things to consider here, and we'll have the URL being banned out right away, but the main things that you want to consider is you want your shrine clear, you want a strong solo lane that can hold the top lane, as well as maybe even get those camps on their own. And then you're going to want to core 3 other members on top of that for rotations between bottom and mid, which is often what we see. Maybe we might have a change in that. Maybe teams lean back into Sylvanas from the past. That was always a big play on this map to have that snowball effect with being able to lock down towers. Now she has had changes come in, making her have to play a little bit more aggressive if she does want to have that trait value onto the towers. But overall, it is something that's still viable. And last night, for example, I think it was Wrongwork consistently brought out Sylvanas. Now that was only on Volskaya Foundry, but at the same time, that's still that's a pretty strong pickup to have and be able to win with it that well to place yourself into what they are now in the grand finals.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this. This is actually a very early ETC, I feel, than what we usually see for him these days. Usually higher priorities on that Johanna that was just picked up by TLR. Or other warriors. So the ETC maybe just really something that I'm gonna butcher this every time I go to say it. Omaiwa. Say it with me. Omaiwa.
Omaiwa Shinderu.
We practiced. We practiced this, people.
I practiced all throughout the day. I loaded up the YouTube video and I was like, yes, no, it's not going to be happening. But we are going to be getting the Abathur and the Jaina here. So Abathur being able to have a lot of great split pressure during the objective phase. So at this point, look for the members of, on the left-hand side, we have TLR, correct?
I believe on the left is Omaiwa.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are right.
TLR.
You are correct.
Right.
I had it backwards. But for Omaiwa, being able to have that split pressure during the entire objective phase, and then have Abathur or Jaina and ETC poking into the objective and delaying it out, that's huge for them because they can just continue to get value. But we are going to have the Zeratul band out as well as the Hammer. But I also got to say, this Johanna Decker to start out doesn't show a lot of the draft, and it kind of makes them worry up to the point where they'll take out that Hammer and they don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, very curious to see what they follow up with in terms of their damage and their wave clear at this point. The Abathur Jaina is very interesting. I know for a long time we didn't necessarily see Abathur on Infernal Shrines, but given that everyone's collective kind of at one point makes it a bit safer for teams to pull out that hero. Jaina, I'm a bit biased, so I think she's always a great pickup. She's in a really good spot right now, so absolutely love it. I think there's still, a lot of variety that OMWS can go with here as well. Thinking of good follow-ups for that Deckard, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Phoenix pick up just because we talked about Purification Salvo plus, additional slows. So being able to pair that up with the slows from the Heradic Cube would be really great. Seeing the Greymane coming out as well as Dahaka for that wave clear.
So TLR is going to play. They're going to grab Dahaka. It's great for grabbing camps. Dahaka is great for grabbing the camps, grabbing the split pressure. And I was just like, middle of the sentence, I was just like, wait, no, you're talking about Greymane. No, we're going to jump to that next. But Greymane actually being such a versatile hero, you can then utilize to grab other camps while the Dahaka is doing the exact same thing, as well as has great shrine clear. Like, they're setting themselves up for a really, really solid start draft on the side of TLR. And oh my wow, like, I like the Abathur Jaina because you get the clone target buff. Jaina's cloned. She has the initial damage onto a hero. Then that clone target still gets that damage, that spike as well. So we're gonna have a Maiev though, just to kind of pull everyone back into Jaina's damage here. And then an Alexstrasza for the heals. I like it. Great great brawl.
Alex is great. I haven't seen a Maiev in a hot minute. And I'm enjoying it quite a bit, especially for being able to punish that Greymane who decides to dive onto that Jaina and maybe, decides they want to sneak on out. Maiev is going to absolutely prevent that from happening and allow Jaina to follow up then with additional slows and damage, and then hopefully that's a dead puppy for them. So that's a really great response to that Greymane, and I really love it.
Being able to kind of shut down the Greymane, I think, is a huge thing. And then also, I mean, Alexstrasza, the dragon form, I think that's a terrifying thing to deal with. I never want, like, dragon form comes out and it's just like, all right, we'll click the opposite direction, like hit the V button and run away. But to pair into the rest of this draft for the members of TLR here, do you want a Deckard, Greymane, Dahaka?
Some additional damage.
Oh, I like this.
The other mage we don't see as often as that Jaina, but still very, very good at clearing, and especially when you're going to have people. So talking about that Maiev, you're going to have your Jaina and your Maiev bunched up a bit. You have Alexstrasza right there behind. So Gul'dan, if going Echoes of Corruption, that's an easy stack right there. So they're going to have to watch out for OMWS for being able to contribute to those stacks if that ends up being the case.
And I do like that they're grabbing the Dahaka to have that split pressure and the burrows so that Abathur doesn't get a ton of value, because they can leave Dahaka until the last second necessary, and then Dahaka typically looks for that flank, so usually the burrow will come in as the fight starts to progress once the enemy team's like, well, their Dahaka hasn't come down yet, it's 4v4, let's step in. And then, well, Dahaka comes in, now it's a 4v5, and you're starting to worry a little bit, also because you have Gul'dan dumping damage, and if you get a tongue from the Dahaka, typically you have the corruption stacks to follow that, and that will typically just pour out the damage onto one of the members, and usually those stacks will be finished out fairly quickly from that, as well as the fact as we get a pause right away into the match here. Looks like we have maybe a game crash, so we'll have to figure that out in just a second. But CatPeach, overall, how are you feeling about this?
Overall, so Abathur compositions are always a little bit tricky earlier on, just because you're not going to have physically that body up until you have Ultimate Evolution. So you're a bit down in that regard. And so I think it's really going to depend on if OMWS can understand that and then simply come back around being able to utilize that Abathur soak to make up for it. But on paper, I really love their combination. I think it's extremely threatening with that Maiev Jaina. And even when you're talking about, Mosh Pit plus Ring of Frost and potentially even Morden's Cage on top of that, you're going to have the ultimate circles of death. So I think there's a lot to punish for on the side of TLR, but at the same time, you can't discount that Dahaka wave clear. You can't discount whether or not that Greymane is going to really apply that pressure and that damage and start getting those picks early on. And the healing from Deckard is extremely significant. So it's pretty tied up, but I think I'm in favor of our OMWS boys on the left.
I I don't know, like I have a soft spot for Abathur compositions, and that's the thing. Like, I love the idea. I love how it can be played. It's really the burden of execution, because if the Dahaka just out rotates out lanes and Abathur never gets that push value, then what happens? Like, what can you do? I mean, overall at that point, it's just like, all right, well, we have a slug that sits behind gates, and at least they can hopefully call down a mule here and there if they take the talent at 7. So
yeah, if you don't have the gameplay out exactly how you want with Abathur, it's really hard to adapt, because I think there's kind of one way that you've structured this entire game to go, and when that gets tipped on its head, there's not a lot of avenues for Abathur to really adjust. So it's, I don't want to say it's easily punishable, but it is one of those challenges that make Abathur compositions deadly but difficult, and that's why we don't necessarily see them very often at lower levels of play. But pulling it out in Open Division, you know, this team has to have a lot of comfort and a lot of knowledge of how to make it work, so we definitely can't count that out entirely.
Yeah, and we are currently running into my favorite custom game issue. If you're set to spectator, no one can see you talking. We are all ghosts right now, so they do not know that we are ready, they are ready, but we just are currently getting ready to unpause the game in just a second. Got to get ourselves figured out. Let me do one thing really quickly. We don't have ref. Please.
Yeah, I feel like on top of the other software apocalypses that happened this afternoon, that this is, you know, it's not too big of a deal.
All right, it looks like they figured out that we cannot see them, so we are going to go ahead and, yep, all right, we got into this. So let's figure this out as we get into game number 1. All right, here we go. On the left-hand side, we are going to have OMWS Shinderu, and we are going to be having, excuse me here, we will have Fanlong on ATC, St. Germain on the Alex Straza player, going to be playing Abathur, Titans King going to be playing Jaina, and Heyoon going to be on the Maev.
And on the right, we are going to have TLR. We're going to have Fats on Johanna, Free PX on Gul'dan, plus Ultra on Dahaka, Jeb Taco Bidos on Greymane, and on the Decker Kane, we will have Legacy.
All right, let's go ahead and get into this, as we do have all 5 members in this mid lane, even the Abathur stepping out into lane, just showing off like, hey, I'm here to hang out too. But it looks like at this point, just a nice back and forth between the two, plus Ultra going to get the tongue at the start. No follow-up damage for that kill. Overall, though, checking in at these level 1 talents, we got a lot of questing stuff, and the main one we're going to be trying to watch here is that Gul'dan Echo Corruption. See if they get those stacked up. It's a lot of damage that will be coming out in the later half of the game here.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about that Echo Corruption, with the grouping that we mentioned in the draft, is going to be really powerful, something that OMWS is not going to want to allow Gul'dan to stack up on. And if he does, it becomes very hard to really get around it during defending the skeletal defender phase. So we're definitely going to have to keep an eye out on that. But for right now, these teams, they're roaming around. We're going to have TLR grabbing their siege camp right at the start building up a lot of early pressure here in this bottom lane.
At this point, the rotations that we would typically see coming out from the teams are a little different. We just have Abathur pushing top lane, and Dahaka has a lot of free reign up there. While these camps are being grabbed, that is great, and you have this pressure here, but Dahaka will consistently win out this lane against the Abathur, and they're going to need to send someone up to deal with this. It looks like Maev will be the one to do that, but at this time, I do have to say, TLR has some great rotations coming out, and are currently ahead in experience and controlling this map fairly well.
Yeah, they currently have both those the bottom and that mid camp pushing as well. And we were talking about the lack of bodies. Sure, Abathur can soak the lane, but ETC getting extremely low. Fanlong tried to get from behind a gate, but ends up being first blood by that Greymane. We were talking about the lack of that body, and it gets so difficult to get that early pressure. Jeb going at it with additional kill, ends up falling for it at the same time. So that is now 2-1 in favor of TLR, showing they're okay getting aggressive this early on in the game. So what if it's level 4? We don't have to wait for a talent advantage. And I like them showing that dominance. They grabbed all those camps very convincingly and said, we're going to team fight in your face right now. So I like the mood that they're setting. That's going to then help them keep control, hopefully, during the rest of this game.
And this, yeah, they're doing a great job of it, and we actually have the Dahaka getting a pick onto the Abathur. The slug will go down, and that's That's honestly not something you see very often. In all the Abathur games that I casted in the past 24 hours, that is the second kill that I've seen, and there's been a lot of games. So at this point, that's a little worrisome. Or at least Pulse Ultra's playing an amazing Dahaka here, but hey, I'm going to be stepping in, and the rest of the team will be trying to follow. Some damage going to be coming up from Jade. Jeb is not able to walk too far into this. They are able to steal away the camp, but do they lose Titan King for it?
Now, it looks like that Abathur hat is going to help keep Titan's King right out of this. Greymane ends up going down in the chase, however. This Greymane had a lot of success earlier on, but I think perhaps OMWS finding ways to punish it if they decide to keep diving in like that. And that's one of those things about Greymane, is that if you feel really confident, you can go in, you can get those picks, but you have to realize how easily it is for someone to punish you. And especially when that Abathur hat is out, you have that additional damage coming out from those spikes. So it's something that TLR is going to have to be wary about.
OMWS is going to be holding over this first objective fairly easily, and I don't know if they're going to be able to contest this. We have Fats stepping up. 3PX is going to be trying to poke in some damage here, but Joanna taking a bit here, going to have to back off. We have Hayun setting up for an Umbral Bind. The ETC power sliding in. Alex Rosa has dropped the Dragon Form here. We still have Joanna trying to pressure into these members, plus Ultra going to get the Tongue Drag onto Titan's King. No Root going to follow up just yet, but Jeb is going to be diving on the Fanlong. No kill from that. Nice little knockback from St. Germain, and they continue to hold this over. And it looks like Hayun should be able to finish this out, or at least they'll get away, and they'll leave one for now.
ETC trying to get the power slide in to get some stuns there, perhaps just get that last remaining Skeletal Defender, and they finally do get it. The red health bar is getting extremely low in attempting to defend. Dahaka is going to be the first to fall, with the second coming out from Fats right after, and that is two members that can no longer help defend this push. Jeb Taco is also looking in a bit of a snafu right now and ends up going down as well. So 3 members of TLR end up going down on top of losing this Punisher. We talked about that early map pressure that they got, but they couldn't really keep it together at the Shrine phase.
OMWS, Mu Shinderu getting everything they could want with this first Punisher. Couple kills. They have the experience advantage. They're going to get the front gate. They'll get the well, and they'll back off. They'll leave the fort. But at the same time, they got a lot with that, pushing them so far ahead here. And this is a big thing, especially with an Abathur composition, to be ahead this much in levels and then to get 10s this fast. That only means that you're going to have a better team fight and more deadly composition earlier than the opponent. And they could basically be on track for the next objective at this rate.
Yeah, and we talked about, that trade-off of experience that you may or may not get. So they gave up all those early camps, but during that Punisher phase, we're able to have that Abathur soaking and quickly caught up in levels along with all those kills, which, by the way, 4v5 getting all those kills, sure, you have the Abathur that, but that is still incredibly impressive. So OMWS showing that they know how to run this Abathur, know how to utilize it, know how to utilize those hats, and really punish their opponents. I do like this camp steal from TLR, while they still don't have to fear that level 10 advantage, but they do have to watch out for losing that top fort, because that is experience in the bank for OMWS, and that's going to get them 10 sooner rather than later. So I like that plus Ultra's coming out here to clean that up before that can happen.
Yeah, great clear, utilizing that Dahaka, and that's the one thing we talked about in the draft of utilizing the global aspect to de-push Abathur and negate any of that free push value that you often see, because if there was no Dahaka, the rotation would have been too long, and that definitely would have been a free fort in the top lane. But at this point, 10's going to be achieved almost into... going to be achieved by the members of OMWS here. 9.5 on the side of TLR, so they're getting close. We are going to be having that Mosh Pit. Oof. I love this. The Ring of Frost Mosh Pit Warden's Cage. And then you just have Alex Stradner just raining down just balls of fire, healing and also dealing damage at the exact same time. And then Abathur just clones a friend and comes as high.
There's so much ultimate synergy going on for OMWS, and it is terrifying. And I absolutely am loving it. You were talking about the extra stacking for Jaina's trait for the slows for damage. So you have that on top of Ring of Frost, on top of everything else. That's just going to be a crazy fight. And we're going to see that here now as Ring of Frost does end up coming out with the Mosh Pit. Those red health bars getting extremely low. Jeb Taco ends up being able to get out for a little bit, but ends up falling, and Fats is now attempting to get out, but with the body blocks, that is again a 3 team member kill for OMWS. showing just how those circles work together so well.
And Abathur, I love this. Getting the hat onto the Merc there to also heal it up a little bit more and have it push a little bit longer, making Dahaka's life a little bit harder. That will be just cleared out now, but that gives time for the members of OMWS to get in their lanes, clear them out, and get back, get full on mana, and prepare for this next objective, which will be barreling into the mid lane. And I don't think that there's any damage onto the forts or any of the structures just yet, so they, they'll still have that bait over the wall, and the gate's a little bit low, but we'll see if they're able to take a fight here. It's 12-10, and now's the time they got to take a fight on the side of TLR.
Yeah, TLR needs to make something happen now. The time is coming out from Plus Ultra. ETC gets extremely stunned, then Long ends up power sliding out of there. Maiev with the Umbral Vine ends up getting silenced in the Stay a While and Listen ends up coming out. The members of OMWS backing up off this point for just a bit, but now with Alexstrasza in Dragon Queen form, she's starting to re-engage.
They're going in on this, but once that dragon form is gone, they don't have they'll have a clone. They don't know this on the side of TLR though, so I'm surprised they're not pushing into this harder. I would really expect them. There's the clone coming out right now. They will get the root onto that as well. Fat's going to be stepping up as well. The Unstoppable going to be used. Player going to be getting low. That is going to be the clone going down. Ring of Frost will be connecting onto the Decker Kane. Thanlong trying to separate a couple members here, but Jeb is doing so much damage. But at the same time, Alexstrasza has that cleansing flame, while Plus Ultra has been separating Titans King from this fight and just, peeling them away. But Legacy's so low here. Jeb is trying to do all they can. That will be the Arcane Punisher going over in favor for TLR here. Let's just see if OMWS can handle it.
I thought in so many instances that Fats was going to die, and that just is not the case, showing just how hard it is to kill a Johanna. And the Arcane Punisher is a great pickup for TLR, finally being able, I feel like for the first time in this game since the very beginning with those couple Merc Camp pickups, is to really push on their own. So they're going in, they should be able to get this fort mostly down. They're going to end up backing up before pushing it too much longer, as Dahaka is still up in that top lane, so they don't want to necessarily take a fight that they can't keep. And now, map pressure. I want to see them build up that map pressure that they had later in the game. They do need those level 13 talents desperately before they can think of fighting OWMS.
They're looking for him though, and at this point they can't take it. They're gonna have to give over this. They know that they're on this siege camp, and it's just gonna be taken away for free. Also, Jaina finishing the level 1 stacking talent, as well as having the ice block too. That's big for them to kind of pause the fight there. Alexstrasza almost finished out on those level 1 abundance stacks, sitting at 23. The Gul'dan is sitting at 38 out of the 40 necessary for corruption. Other than that, everything's been completed except for subdue. But I mean, come on, that's Joanna's 7 talent. No one ever gets subdued. No one stands in a 5-man group for that nice little swipe. But overall, it's just going to be lane clearing, looking for 13s, and setting up for the next objective in top lane.
Yeah, we have 2 more stacks needed for Echoed Corruption to be completed as well. And once that hits, having that additional 3 hits on that ability is going to hurt so badly for OMWS. So I'm excited to see what these team fights end up looking like when that happens. Now level 13, it looks like TLR going in for the fight. And immediately Alexstrasza is taken out of the mix, and 2 folks down from OMWS, and this is looking extremely great for TLR.
TLR coming out of seemingly nowhere with that and just bodying 3 members. They're going to go ahead and step into mid. Now, the one thing that I would say is they should hard rotate, and they're going to do that now. Hard rotating into top lane, prep this lane. Actually, they're going to get the camp. My whole point is prep this lane for the next objective. Set yourself up to succeed. Take down the fort and allow you to push even onto the keep front gate. Now, they'll have this camp that will allow them to get that initial siege here, but I don't know. I feel like it might be a little bit of a wasted opportunity. They are going to go ahead and grab this camp on the right side of the map, and overall, they're going to reset themselves, get a little bit of control over the map. And the other thing, though, at the same time, as they do that, Abathur just continues to push out bottom and kind of counteract whatever they're doing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's whatever lane Abathur was in, TLR just needs to focus so hard on pushing it back, which is why I like them at least denying that first camp on the side of OMWS initially, and then grabbing their own to help push out that lane while they hopefully defend this next shrine. Because having that not pushed out in your favor when you're defending that shrine gets a little hard, and they're not going to have that healing well since that was taken out earlier. So this is going to be a tough defense for them, but definitely not impossible. And now that they're at equal 15-15 level-wise, it's anyone's game who gets level 16 first and who can really swing this next fight around.
And that's what Dahaka's looking for right now, as well as Abathur, just trying to soak up that lane, clear it out, and then Dahaka doing the exact same thing in mid. But we do have the next objective popping up, 15 to 15. It's like the cusp of 16 for both teams as well, and they're just looking for that little bit of lane that they need. No one's stepping up too far just yet. Some recalls even coming out as well. Just back off. Let's play this safe. They don't want to give this. Oh, and we do currently have a DC from the ETC. We'll get that settled here in just a second. But I gotta say, CatPeach, this game is looking really good. Almost every questing, everything but subdue has been finished out here, and these teams are setting up for basically a 16-16 fight, and this really could sway who's going to take this game. The gate on the left-hand side for the members of OMWS is down. They still have their fort, but the right-hand side for TLR, there's no fort, there's no gate. They've only got the keep front, so they really need to get this one, make sure that they can pressure the members of OMWS with this next objective.
Yeah, and the timing of Dahaka coming up to help with that next fight is going to be so crucial, because a second late and you're coming into a fight that everyone else is already retreating from and might be in a little bit of a precarious position yourself. Or you come in a little bit too early, you're not getting that experience, then suddenly your opponents have 16 just a fraction before you're able to get it. And with the way these players are playing, I am sure they're going to snap in those talents and make the damage come out as fast as possible. So whoever gets it first, it's really scary for both teams. And it looks like TLR has a split second window before their opponents get 16 themselves. So they are going into the shrine. The 16 picked up on both sides. Ton coming out from Puffs. Also, the fear combined with the Greymane dive is beautiful. Jaina ends up going down, and TLR now on the chase. ETC getting tunned as well, able to use the bump to make a little bit of space, but now TLR catching up on skeletal defenders themselves, and that was a great pick to help them really defend this lane that, again, they don't have the advantage in. So fantastic team fight there. Great pick onto the Jaina.
Abathur didn't even have time to hit the R or even give the hat to Jaina, just to even clone them. So the blow up on that, extremely well coordinated from the members of TLR here. They're going to go ahead and grab this Mortar Punisher, push that down the top lane. They'll get quite a bit with this. This is 14 minutes into the game. Scaling is starting to really work into this, and we can also see that damage coming out from Gul'dan, even just onto the structures. You can just see that huge bar of just damage over time as this Punisher is working its way through here. It's still with 95% health. Hayum going to try to do their best and pressure this bottom a little bit, but meanwhile, they've got the Dahaka. That should take care of everything. This Punisher, though, CatPeach, looks like it's going to be pushing down top, potentially for a keep.
Yeah, Maya being able to grab that camp, which is a great push down there to help keep that Dahaka distracted, and she didn't necessarily have a great setup to use any of her abilities in this push, so I do like that call. I am very glad that she immediately came back and helped get rid of that Punisher. And the keep took a little bit of damage, still mostly okay, but very quick rotations coming out from TLR to go snipe this camp from their opponents if possible. Ultimate Evolution is still down for another... Oh no, it actually just came back up, down, up. Timers are strange. Looks like it's down. But they have to focus now on cleaning up that camp in the bottom of TLR, and Dahaka, facing 4 in mid, is going to have to be careful with their positioning.
It looks like they'll be able to just keep themselves alive here. They're not going to get pounced on. I was looking, I was just like, do they take the kill? No, they don't. Overall, though, these teams are going to start to play a little safe. It is getting to that later half of the game. Death times are really starting to get up there, so holding your heroics for one big fight and setting yourself up for this next objective is the key. You can already see the lanes have been pressured up quite a bit. Abathur is going to do their best to do that. Plus, Ultra will rotate into this top. Check out this camp as well as D-push anything that Abathur is getting from this lane. Meanwhile, in bottom, they're doing the exact same thing, and overall, it's just the macro play. Teams playing safe, not stepping out too far. They don't want to give over experience or deaths. 8 to 8 in kills. Structures kind of even here, a little bit in favor for the members of, I would say actually TLR has got a little bit more in favor here.
Yeah, and I was going to say the shrine is going to be popping up into the mid lane coming up. And so with TLR, they already have dealt a lot of damage to this gate. They're currently working on, or sorry, that's in the bottom lane. They already took out the fort in mid lane. And so grabbing this next Punisher, potentially getting another pick like they did right at the start of the Punisher like they did last time, you potentially set yourself up for a win condition if you can quickly chunk through that keep and get to the core. It's a bit risky pre-20, but still not impossible. So they are in a great position going into this next phase.
And it's crazy to be looking at the levels right now, and you see that they have an Abathur on the side of OMWS, and it's 18-19. They're about a half a level behind here, and it's a little confusing because typically it's just like, well, Abathur can just body soak and hat soak, but the thing is, Dahaka's done such a phenomenal job of denying any of the pressure, especially into the top lane. They've been trying to funnel in these camps. Dahaka's always there to make sure that that camp gets cleared out. The Abathur hat is denied any sort of extra push, and then they just go back down into the other lane and, you know, scout some stuff out, get some D push, and just work on getting more essence and getting ready for this next shrine, which will be activating in the next 20 seconds.
Yeah, and also remember that early Abathur pick, I think possibly put a little fear into the side of OMWS. So I feel like Abathur's been playing extremely conservative in terms of positioning, especially after that initial Dahaka kill. So not necessarily maximizing as some folks can on experience, simply from your body being physically in the middle of a lane. So that's a bit you know, something to look out for OMWS, but level 20s for TLR. I would be very afraid for OMWS to even think about contesting, but they're gonna have to think about it because, again, that Punisher is gonna barrel right to their keep. So OMWS deciding they are just gonna leave it, potentially give up their keep just in order to get level 20 and defend as much as they can when it happens.
I like this call, though. Bayev going into the bottom lane, going to grab that camp. They do the same thing in the mid lane, so they're just trying to create a little bit of pressure. Abathur getting soaked in top lane. They got to 20 themselves. Even talent tiers. At this point, I wouldn't say this is like the death march. They're not coming in, you know, knocking on your core. But it could be. It honestly could be for either team. 18 minutes into the game, if they get a reverse, you know, wipe on the side of OMWS, this could be the chance that they get where they can run across the map and take down a keep in that bottom lane or even top. We'll have to see how this plays out as the jump comes over. Hayum doing a great job of using the wall to the ward in there not to take any damage. There's going to be the root and the healing reduction there, but at this point we do see that this thing is getting melted by that Jaina as well as the clone. So much damage coming out instantaneously. They keep only at half health. They have the Abathur Mule as well. Power Slide coming out from Fan Long. The Unstoppable is used as well. Player going to be stepping up with that clone of Jaina. But they keep their keep alive, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see the Mule come down any second now and just make sure that they keep that alive and well.
We have to just make note that using the clone to defend is a very interesting choice, and also the use of Dragon Queen simply to defend. So sure, it got that taken care of very quickly, but now the real fight's starting to begin. Ring of Frost coming out. ETC ends up getting the Death Mosh onto the members of TLR, and how now just going in, trying to finish up this fight, pulling in Legacy and Free PX as they're getting extremely low. Saint Germain, again with the Dragon Queen, ends up helping to clean up, and that is exactly what you talked about, Bahamut. 4 members down on TLR, and this gives OMWS the opportunity to barrel down that bottom lane, take down that keep, and with the death timer really high at this point, we have to see how far they're willing to go. Are they going to risk going for core at that point, or do they simply want to get the keep and continue pressure elsewhere?
This is just everything they could have hoped and dreamed for. 40 seconds on the majority of the members, and we have this keep getting shredded at this point. Abathur is clone in the next couple seconds. They're posturing already for the core. I wouldn't be too surprised to see Abathur try and get the clone onto Titan's King right away. They'll have the Mule come out as well. Player going to be getting the clone out as well, and they're starting to chunk down this core. Dahaka has come back, going to be trying to help out here. There is going to be the Nullify going out as well. Core at 50%. This could be it, and it looks like they're actually going to turn this around. We do have the Greymane back this time. Player low, going to get that burn, but that will be GG. OMWS taking game number 1 in this best of 3 series.
That was a textbook defense and wipe play. That is, you know, you talked about it. You said just get a couple of those picks, get a team wipe, and then push it down. So Maya being able to help create that pressure with grabbing that camp while the shrine phase was activating, it was just beautiful. It was a beautiful play, and I have no words. I have no other words except it was really
honestly
pretty.
If they hadn't clumped up the two, I think it was the Greymane and the Deckard clumped up and got death moshed. If it wasn't for that, they would have had that game. That would have 100%. They could have turned that fight around. They were taking so many great fights. Free PX was getting a lot of damage out, but the thing is, they ended up getting those 2 picks, and the team sort of got discombobulated. Maiev had the hat and just tore it up, as you said, and that's the big thing here is I think they might have underestimated the damage and everything that can come out from Maiev here. So great plays coming out from OMWS Shinderu, taking that game number 1 against TLR.